All right, so this video is about a 31-year-old pregnant model whose body was found tied up inside of her own refrigerator. So I have the investigators report, you know, information about the people that were going in and out of her unit, her apartment, and I even got the examiner's report with a diagram explaining, what happened to her body. So I dug deep in this, man. I found some information out. We're gonna do a lot of reading on this. So I would say, give me a subscribe real quick. We trying to run these subscriber count up before Halloween, see where I can get to. But let me just go ahead and read this. Body of slain LA model was found inside of her refrigerator. Autopsy reveals. A pregnant model was found dead inside of a downtown LA apartment last month. Had been bound, beaten, gagged, and wedged inside of her own refrigerator, according to an autopsy report obtained by KTLA on Friday. The body of Melissa Mooney, 31, was discovered on September 12th after police conducted a welfare check of her apartment on South Figueroa Street. She had suffered blunt force trauma to her head, torso, and arms. The medical examiner's report states, indicating that the cause of death was homicidal violence. Mooney's wrists and ankles were bound together, and the bindings were tied to each other behind her back with miscellaneous electronic cords and clothing items. A gag made from an article of clothing was stuffed in her mouth. Toxicology tests also found traces of cocaine and alcohol in Mooney's system. So we're going to go ahead and go to the autopsy report, but first we're going to go to page 18 so I can read what the investigator said about the entire situation. What he found and, what they seen on the surveillance and everything. All right, here we go right here. The decedent. So the decedent is talking about the person that died within this investigation. The decedent lives in a residence by herself, and she moved in the beginning of August 2023. Per surveillance video on Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, the decedent's another female and a male was seen getting into the elevator going up to the 5th floor and then exit. Per surveillance video, the decedent was last seen alive on Wednesday, September 6th, on one of the elevators, and her vehicle was also issued a parking ticket. Per surveillance video on Thursday, September 7th, a male was seen using the decedent's key fob to use the elevator and then carrying plastic bags to the decedent's residence. On Saturday, September 9th, the decedent was supposed to go to her old residence to pick up the rest of her belongings, but she never arrived. On Sunday, September 10th, 2023, the decedent's sister contacted the Los Angeles Police Department requesting a welfare check. So let me just give some time right quick, a little time check. So she was seen at her house going into this place with a man and another woman on September 5th, right? By September 6th, which is the next day, that was the last time she was seen alive on the surveillance video, which was the next day. And then the next day after that, a male was seen going up to her apartment with trash bags. So then on the 9th, so from the 6th to the 9th is 3 days. She was supposed to get her things, and then her sister calls on the 10th. So this is all happening within a few days. So let me continue. September 10th, 2023, the decedent's sister contacted the LA Police Department requesting a welfare check. Officers arrived on scene, knocked on the decedent's front door. There was no answer and no entry was made. On Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, the decedent's mother called the manager of the apartment building requesting another welfare check. The manager then called the LA Police Department and officers arrived on scene. The manager opened the door with their key and officers entered the apartment. They looked around and did not locate the decedent. They then observed food that is usually kept in the refrigerator on the kitchen counters. They looked inside of the refrigerator and found the decedent unresponsive. On Tuesday, September 12th at 1625 hours, which is 4:25 p.m., Sergeant Artiega determined death. There are no suspects in custody. So let me just go back on the time, right? So let's see. That was the 12th. So 6 days after the last time she was seen alive, they actually go inside of her residence, right? All right, so we got some more reading about how the detectives and the officers found her body. The decedent is a 31-year-old female with sparse black hair underneath a wig and brown eyes. She has all of her upper and all of her lower natural teeth. There are old healed circular scars underneath both her nipples. There are old healed vertical scars down the lower central portion of her breast. There are old healed scars underneath both of her breasts. There is an old healed vertical scar approximately 3 inches in length down the front of her knee. No other scars and no other tattoos were noted. The decedent was wearing a leopard print romper and a pair of blue underwear. There was a pink sweatshirt partially covering her head. There was an animal print dress around both of her lower thighs. The decedent was located inside a refrigerator. The top of her head was facing east. Her right arm was bent at the elbow, and I was unable to see her left arm. Both of her legs were bent at the knee, with both of her feet in the southeast corner of the refrigerator and were pointing east. Both of her wrists were tied together with multiple items and then tied to both of her ankles. Wrapped partially around her face was a pink dress. Wrapped once around her neck was a gray dress, 3 rags, a gold piece of clothing, and a pink vest. Part of the pink vest was stuffed inside of her mouth. Wrapped loosely around her lower forearm was a pink piece of clothing. Wrapped around her ankles and with some of the clothing around her head and neck was a yellow bikini top. Wrapped around her wrists and ankles were white phone charging cords, white shoelaces, and a black tank top. The black tank top and a tan tank top were also partially wrapped around her right ankle. The black tank top was in between the decedent's 2 hands. There were abrasions to the central portion of the forehead, and there was a large bump in the center portion of her forehead. There was a laceration above her left eyebrow, and there were apparently bruising and swelling on both her eyes. Both of her eyes were congested with some pigmentia noted in her right eye. I don't know what that is, bro, but we're just gonna go ahead and go straight to it because I think this is just them talking about what is on the autopsy report. So let me pull up the autopsy report and the diagram, because the diagram's here, but I cut it out for y'all so you can actually read it along and understand what they're talking about. So let me pull that image up. Here we go right here. So this is the face and neck description, right? So here it goes right here. Description of blunt force traumatic injuries. Blunt force trauma, head and neck. Triangle laceration to the left eyebrow, 3/4 and 1/4 inch. So this is the triangular laceration. A laceration is basically just, a cut, right? Purple contusion above the right eyebrow. This is the purple contusion above the right eyebrow. Preorbital ichthyosis of the right eye and extending to the right cheek. So that's basically, that's right here. It's from the right eye extending to the right cheek. So if you don't know what this is right here, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. Now, if I'm saying these words wrong, I'm sorry. Bear with me because I don't know these terms, but I have the definition of some of them. Preorbital ichthyosis or raccooni is produced by blood tracking into preorbital tissue causing blue or purple discoloration of the upper and lower eyelids, which is frequently a symptom of traumatic injuries to the head and neck, including basal skull fractures, soft tissue injuries, convexity fractures, and so forth, right? So let's just go ahead and go back to it and pull my image back up to the diagram. All right. So purple contusions above the right eyebrow, abrasion of the mid forehead, preorbital ichthyosis of the right eye extended to the right cheek, which is right here. Upper and lower right lip contusions and / abrasions. So that's basically saying her lips was scraped and basically her lip was busted. Internal subcutaneous hemorrhages of the left and right frontal scalp, 2 inches each in greatest dimensions. So she had hemorrhaging which is basically blood in her scalp. Subcutaneous hemorrhaging of the occipital scalp slightly right of the posterior midline. Sorry, like I said, if I'm messing up these terms, but Give me a subscribe, man. Give me a subscribe. Don't forget that. Go ahead, hit that subscribe. It's not that hard. It's right down there. All right, so now we got the torso contusions, right? Multiple transverse linear red to purple contusions / abrasions across the upper back, 2 to 1/4 inch each. So that's this right here. So basically, she had bruises and scrapes across her back, which is this right here, right? Erythematous, man, I'm sorry. Discoloration of the skin overlaying the anterior superior iliac spines of the pelvic interior hips. So that's this right here, right? Fractures of the left rib, number 11, on the anterolateral aspect without hemorrhage. So she had a fracture in her rib, blunt force trauma extremities, transverse linear contusions to the posterior upper left arm, which is right here. Left posterior forearm, 3 small abrasions measuring 1/4 to 1/2 and 1/4 inch each. That's these 3 right here. Ligature furrows of bilateral wrists and ankles with no definitive traumatic vital reaction identified. So that's basically these right here, and that's probably 9 times out of 10 from where she was bound. Now, like I said, based off of what they said in page number 11, they got the people walking in and out of her building on camera. So it's pretty safe to say that whoever the guy is, they got his identity. He 9 times out of 10 killed her. It would only make sense because they have footage of her walking in and out. Then it is kind of obvious, in my opinion, who killed her. The man was even using her property to get in and out of the building. So hopefully, whoever this person is, I don't know why he did what he did. Like I said, she is pregnant. Who knows what could have happened between them two, but hopefully whoever the dude is, they catch the dude, man. I'm never somebody to be like, call the police on people. I'm not really that type of dude when it comes to certain things. But when it comes to murder like this, and you killing people and you doing all this outrageous stuff, you murdering pregnant people, and you beating them to death, putting them in refrigerators, you have no place in this society, man. That's just what it is. Hit the subscribe button right here. Go watch some other videos right here. I'm out.